as he is in Vegas again for coverage of McGregor and Mayweather and Stephen A. Oh, with a crowd behind him, as we can see on ESPN2. Good morning, Stephen A.
What's going on, Mike?
What's up, man?
Going on?
Got your own cheering section.
Fellas? Well, you know, I am here. It is Vegas. I mean, if you're going to be in Vegas, be in Vegas.
I love it. All right, so listen, let's start with this because we're trying to figure out what we think is going to happen. And I don't know Floyd Mayweather, and you do. He doesn't strike me as the kind of person who wants to play games here and put on a show. He can talk about wanting to put on a show because people were disappointed with the Pacquiao fight. He strikes me as a guy who is going to make sure that he wins in whatever the most direct way that is possible. And if your colleague there, Max Kellerman, is right, and Floyd can put him away pretty much anytime he wants to, I feel like he will do so early. Is that your expectation?
That's my expectations. I'm predicting that it'll probably go 5 or 6 rounds. Floyd will embarrass him. He will destroy him. He will humiliate him because he's such a superior boxer. I just refuse to believe that one of the greatest boxers ever, arguably the greatest defensive fighter we have ever seen, is going to get in a ring with somebody that's never boxed professionally in his life and all of a sudden is going to have a hard time. I do, unlike my man Max Kellerman, give Conor McGregor a 1% chance, which is a puncher's chance. I think anybody that has power in both hands in a pugilistic sport where one shot to the jaw can end a night, you have to take that into consideration. These are human beings we're talking about here. Anything could happen. You could wake up with an upset stomach. You could wake up with a headache, a toothache, for crying out loud. Something could happen. It will take that kind of a miracle and all things aligning correctly in order for Conor McGregor to win this fight. But that's a 1% chance because that's just human instinct. But by and large, anybody with sense should expect that Floyd Mayweather is not only going to win, but win convincingly. And if the fists are still brittle, even though he hasn't fought in the last 2 years, and he's still unable to knock out Conor McGregor, I do believe that he will, at the very least, embarrass him in terms of giving him a boxing lesson. I've seen Floyd in the ring against professionals where guys would swing at him, and he'd literally tap them on the shoulder and say, look, I'm behind you. I'm not there. This is what he does. This is how brilliant he is as a defensive wizard. I mean, he talks to announcers at ringside in the middle of a fight. He fought a guy by the name of Saul Canelo Alvarez, who's absolutely sensational. The only loss on his resume is to Floyd Money Mayweather, although I suspect he will lose to Triple G on September 16th. And this is a guy that Floyd literally took to class, took to school. He was a professor in that ring, and it was so bad that Canelo got to a point where he was literally scared to throw punches because he was embarrassed from missing so much. Floyd can do that to you. So even in the event that he doesn't have the knockout power to take a Conor McGregor out, where some people think that he will, I do believe that he clearly has the ability to embarrass this guy and give him a boxing lesson. And at the very least, I suspect that. But I do believe that a knockout ultimately will ensue simply because Conor McGregor isn't accustomed to being in a ring with somebody as brilliant as this guy.
Stephen, I'm curious to what happens after this fight. In the wee hours of Sunday morning when this fight is over, do you think we will ever see either of these guys in a boxing ring again?
No, I think Conor McGregor will go back to the UFC because I think the money to be made in boxing won't be there for him. He'll go back to the UFC. He'll do what he does on that level. I think in the case of Floyd Money Mayweather, he'll retire. I believe him when he says that, simply because I've spoken to his father. I've spoken to his manager, business manager, Leonard Ellaby, who will be on the show today on First Take. And these are individuals who know him intimately. And plus, Floyd Money Mayweather has told me that himself. Even though he hasn't been subjected to an extreme amount of punishment compared to most other boxers, he's been doing this all his life. He's been fighting professionally for over 20 years. And he believes that he's absorbed enough punishment. And to some degree, he is. You just see that there has been some level of dissipation in terms of his skill. Not to the level of a Manny Pacquiao, but definitely we've seen some slippage. And that's why Floyd Money Mayweather got out of the game to some degree when he did. You don't see him talking about fighting Terrence Crawford or Errol Spence Jr. or Keith Thurman or somebody like that, because that's when you recognize that your time has come and it's time for you to walk away. And he's all about the business of making money without getting hurt, because clearly boxing doesn't have, a representation in terms of the boxers having a fighters association or anything like that. And so it's every man for themselves. And Floyd is all about making the money and being as safe as he possibly can be one. while doing so.
Mike and Stephen A. So I heard Teddy Atlas bringing this up, and none of the three of us in this discussion think there's almost any chance of it happening. But in the extraordinarily unlikely event that Conor McGregor wins this fight, what would it actually mean to the sport of boxing?
It will be a devastating blow, a very devastating blow as far as I'm concerned. And here's why. You're 49-0, universally recognized as one of the greatest ever. And a novice who's never fought professionally stepped into a boxing ring and beat you. If that happened, it discredits the sport of boxing. I don't think people are worried per se, but I think everybody recognizes that that's something that's simply not good for the sport. It would be great for the UFC. It would be great for the UFC, not just because of of their stature, but also the ability for fighters to move on over to the sport of boxing and make some noise. It would open up a bevy of opportunities for other fighters to enter the sport of boxing and do some of the things that they're capable of doing. But it would definitely put a stain on the sport because it would give the impression that it doesn't require but so much to step in the ring and take one of these guys out. Because if the greatest defensive fighter, arguably, who ever lived, goes into a ring against Conor McGregor and gets put to sleep, we've got a problem on our hands. And more importantly, Floyd Money Mayweather will have walked away from the sport unless he decides to come back for a rematch and get more money. And it just wouldn't be something that's good for the sport. I mean, when you think about boxing right now, let's call this what it is. This is a great exhibition. We expect it to be an exhibition primarily on the part of Floyd Money Mayweather. It's Conor McGregor and Floyd Money Mayweather in terms of the hype and the introduction, and them even walking into the ring is going to be incredibly exciting. But once the fight actually starts, we all expect a mismatch. The fight that we're really, really looking forward to is Triple G versus Canelo, because that's a fight. That could be the fight of the decade, for crying out loud. But at the same time, you cannot have a guy the stature of Floyd Money Mayweather losing to somebody who's never fought professionally. That would be extremely embarrassing and an incredible stain on the sport of boxing if that happened.
So, Stephen A., with that being said, let's say Floyd wins and he gets to 50-0, beating somebody that's never fought professionally. Are you okay with that being his 50th win and taking the place of Marciano as far as being 50-0?
Nope. But I'm on the record. This ain't 50-0 to me. I don't give a damn what anybody says. Everybody can pick it. Everybody's got the right to their opinions. And, others will sit up there and say, the Chael Sonens of the world will sit up there and say, hey, I counted this 50-0. Teddy Atlas says there's an asterisk that would be attached to it. I'm not even going that far. It's not 50-0 to me. You did not fight a professional boxer. You did not fight somebody who went through the terrain of boxing and put in that work and went through opponent after opponent to earn the right to be in the ring with you. This is an exhibition. We can appreciate it. I hear my man Max talking about it's licensed by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and all of that other stuff. Fine. Y'all feel the way that y'all feel. It ain't 50-0 to me. Not when Pacquiao is still out there. Not when Terrence Crawford is out there, even though he's a junior welterweight at 140 pounds and would have to move up. Not when a Keith Thurman is out there. Not when an Errol Spence Jr., my favorite, is out there. When you've got these kind of fighters out there, even with Canelo Alvarez, because he's moved up and being a middleweight and fighting Triple G, but Floyd could have fought him at 154. That's what he's doing for this fight. That hasn't happened. A rematch with that hasn't happened. Too many fights are out there from professional boxers who've put in the work and have earned the right to be in the ring with a quality fighter like Floyd Money Mayweather. I am not going to count 50-0 for you beating some guy that never fought as a boxer in his career. Conor McGregor is fantastic. He's great. I'm not casting any aspersions on him whatsoever as a fighter. But this is boxing. And as a boxer, he did not earn the right to be in the ring with Floyd Money Mayweather. This is clearly an exhibition, and I'm going to treat it like that. I will never look at Floyd Money Mayweather as 50-0 because he beat Conor McGregor. That ain't happening this way.
Stephen A. is ready to go. The crowd is ready to go. Vegas is ready to go. First Take starts 10 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN. Thank you so much, Steve. Enjoy the weekend.
Thanks, Steve.
No problem. Y'all take it easy.